Good afternoon, everybody, or good evening. This is Brian Hartman. I am the president of Pharus Funding Partners and partners in Pharus Global, which is our affectionately called ecosystem of services. We like to say that we help businesses from the cradle all the way to the exit. You can find us at pharusglobal.com. And we are located at our main headquarters here at 1859 Southeast Port St. Lucie Boulevard in Florida. Happy to have you drop by and grab a cup of coffee and say hi. We also have a comments section. So as we're going through this program today, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment. You can click to like and share. Just say hi, and we'll be happy to give you a shout out today. And very excited for our special guest this evening. We have Dr. Dennis Saver. We're going to be talking about We Care, which is celebrating 30 years of caring in Indian River County, specifically Vero Beach, Florida. And I can't wait to get him on board with us. So without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Dennis Saver.
Hello, everyone.
Good evening, Dr. Saver. We're so happy that you could join us. This is actually episode number 15 tonight, so we're kind of getting there. And I'm really excited to be able to have you on the show and get to let everybody know about We Care and the organization that's going on 30 years. I bet you can't believe it.
It doesn't seem like it could possibly be that long, or I could possibly be that old either, but
well, you started when you were 5. So
hey, forgot that part.
Okay, good. So Dr. Saver, I'm curious. I'm sure a lot of folks are curious. Can you tell us about We Care and why you started it back in 1991?
Be glad to. And thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to talk to all of the people who are listening and all of the people who are hopefully going to have their friends come listen as well.
Absolutely.
We Care is an organization in which specialty physicians volunteer their time to give free medical care to people who live right here in our community in Indian River County and who have no insurance and cannot afford the medical care unless it's gifted to them. And we started, as you said, 1991, almost 30 years ago. And the reason was that at that time, the health department was the main provider of what we call safety net primary care services for people who didn't have money or people who had Medicaid, and none of the community physicians accepted Medicaid as a payment. And they said, well, we can do the primary care, but if we need a cardiologist or a GI doctor or a surgeon or whatever, we can't get these people into your office, doctor, because you want $350 when they set foot there, and they don't have it. And would you be willing, as a medical society, to develop some mechanism for helping these patients? And so the County Medical Society asked for volunteers to kind of go to work on the problem, and I was one of 6 who volunteered. And we really, just on a peer-to-peer basis, asked doctors, would you be able to do this once in a while? If there are, 8 cardiologists, would you all be willing to rotate so that you have a clinic once a month? That means you'll do 1.3 clinics a year to help out these patients who otherwise, they're really out of luck.
Right.
And it took a couple years to get rolling. So the first year we had about 30 doctors volunteer. And the second year we had about 60. And by year 4 or 5, we had around 100. And we've been pretty steady over the 30 years, between 120 and 140 physicians who volunteer some part of their time each year to help the We Care patients. So it is really for specialty referral. And so these are all physicians who are subspecialists. This is not for primary care, really. And then the wrinkle in this is that we had been doing this for 24 years or so, or 23 years, and we'd gotten to the point where every year we had around $700,000 to $800,000 worth of donated service.
Wow.
Which is not so bad.
That's a pretty good.
But also, when you looked at the curve, it was flat. You know, it was steady, but it wasn't increasing. And the medical society said, well, you know, if we're going to make this program better, if we're going to help people more, we need to do something different. And the something different was that we created a 501c3 tax-exempt charitable foundation, which is, imagine this, called the We Care Foundation.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. And the We Care Foundation raises actual cash that funds the operation of the We Care Clinic and provides us the ability to get things for the patient that require an outlay of money, of cash. So for example, in our first 24 years, somebody had a bad knee and they needed a brace. Well, we could get an orthopedic doctor to see them. We could get the x-ray. We could get an MRI if we needed it. But now they needed a $200 knee brace. Couldn't get it.
Yeah, what to do?
Patient had a bad wound. Well, we could get all kinds of specialists to see the patient for wound care, but they needed to buy dressings, cost $50 a week.
Don't have it.
Don't have it. So the We Care Foundation fills that hole so that now when one of our volunteer doctors says, well, I've got Mr. Smith here and he needs XYZ, then now we have a mechanism to say, well, the foundation will step in, will buy on behalf of the patient XYZ. And I think that just makes the service so much more whole, and it wraps around. So we're really able to kind of take care of a given patient fully, as opposed to, you know, maybe part way only.
Got it. Really interesting. Fantastic organization. I took a liking to it about going on 7-8 years now. And before we continue, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Frank Saragassi. He says hello, and Hala Shalub is watching with us, and she'd like to know, what is your specialty, Dr. Saver?
I'm family medicine. I'm actually retired now, so I stopped getting paid about a year ago. I do myself volunteer at the We Care Clinic for one morning a week. So I do this little tiny bit of ongoing primary care in family medicine. But that's really not what our program does. That's just my little personal contribution.
Awesome. And so you got to retire at the ripe old age of 25, huh?
Oh, no, let's see. If I started when I was 5 and we had 30 years, I was 35 when I retired.
35.
You need a little math tutoring there.
Terrible. And I was a banker for 30 years. Go figure. So a couple of things. I know that you are the founder of We Care and the board president currently. And one thing that you mentioned, I think at the beginning of the foundation and the physicians volunteering, originally, many of them were doing this out of their own offices, correct?
Yes.
And it was not too long ago that you were able to open a clinic?
Yes, so that is a relatively new wrinkle for us. So the way this happened was that some space at a building that was run by the health department, some office space was vacated. And the health department director said, would you like to take this as dedicated space for We Care?
Right.
Up until that point, for all those years, you know, we kind of borrowed a couple rooms at the health department, and that was, you know, we had no budget. It was a fly-by-night operation. So we accepted that, and then we went to a local foundation that some of your listeners may have heard of, called Impact 100. Mm-hmm. They have a process of competitive grant making, and they accept applications for local projects from nonprofits that they think are going to change the landscape. We were able to successfully get a $100,000 grant from them in 2015 to renovate that cubicle space into a clinic. And then the next chess piece that came onto the board is that the We Care Foundation went to the Indian River Hospital Tax District, who had been a modest supporter of us. They had paid a nurse's salary.
Right.
And we said to them, hey, folks, we've now got dedicated space. What do you think about funding one paid physician who would be the hub at the center of this wheel of many spokes, 120 spokes, who would help coordinate the patient care? And they agreed to do that. So we morphed from being, really a totally under the radar organization with no budget, no money, no nothing, to an organization that actually had a small footprint. We have a small 4-room clinic. We have a physician in the clinic 5 days a week who helps do these referrals. And then we have the foundation, which is, now raising the money that operates that clinic. So we've been sort of climbing the ladder upwards, and we hope to keep doing that.
Fantastic. The clinic looks amazing, and I can't believe that it's been 5 years since that whole process started already, going on 6. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun, right? So
it's really, go ahead.
No, please.
Well, it's really remade our process, and so we've really life doesn't stand still, and the circumstances change, so that over the history of our program, all sorts of things are really different now than they were 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some things that are not different. So there are still folks who live here next door or down on their luck, lost their job, couldn't pay the mortgage. Mm-hmm. Who need help. That hasn't changed. We still have a whole bunch of doctors who are willing to say, even though I get beat up on by insurance downcoding and federal regulations and blah, 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 yeah, I'm going to make a gift of my service to this person.
Absolutely.
That hasn't changed. But the way all sorts of other things have changed. So our hospital ownership has changed. The way the district supports us has changed for the better. The foundation the creation of the foundation has changed. So it doesn't stand still. We try to keep up with the times.
Absolutely, no doubt. It's really exciting to see it in action and to see how giving all the physicians that are involved are and when they're volunteering, and not just physicians, but everybody in the organization. It's fantastic to see.
Well, so Brian, I'm going to toot your horn for you here. Brian mentioned that he got interested in the We Care Foundation 6 or 7 years ago. And Brian actually helped put on our very first fundraiser, which was quite modest. And he stood by us for all these years and was last year co-chair of a group that we call the Mardi Gras crew with a K, that puts on our annual fundraiser, which is the best party in town, by the way, for any of you who are in Vero Beach.
Nothing better.
And so that Brian has really been instrumental in helping us. And there are a whole bunch of other people. There are about 20 people from the community who put together that fundraiser party. So it's not done by me, I assure you. I go and have a good time, but I don't organize it. So members of the community who believe in what we do, they put their money and their wallet and their time and their energy into helping, which is critical for us. It's really a great deal.
Absolutely. And the organization itself and what it stands for, it makes it so easy to be able to want to give back. And it's a lot of fun at the same time to be able to help. And we've definitely had a good time at the annual galas. And you don't have to be so modest either there. Dr. Saver happens to be one of the best dancers at the event. So he and his wife are, they take the top prize in the dancing contest. So If you ever need any dance lessons, just let me know. I could hook you up.
And it's cheap too.
So, Dr. Saver, can you describe how does a person in need of medical care take advantage of WeCare?
Oh, that's a terrific question. So, because we're a referral organization, we ask that somebody go to their primary care provider, and if they have a problem and need specialty care, that their primary care provider evaluate them and refer them to the WeCare program. There are 2 federally qualified health center programs in our county, Treasure Coast Community Health and Whole Family Centers, both of which have an arrangement with our health taxing districts such that people who are indigent can be seen without a copay, can get free primary care. So they are then referred to WeCare, and Dr. Herman Fountain, who's the physician at the hub of our wheel there, evaluates them and then refers them out to a cardiologist or a GI doctor or whatever. When their problem is taken care of, then we say, okay, WeCare has now done our part to help you, and now we send you back to your home, to your primary care provider, wherever that is.
Right.
So that we do get referrals primarily from those 2 organizations, but we also get referrals from the emergency department, from patients being discharged after a stay in the hospital, and from private physicians' offices for patients who can pay their own way when they're pretty healthy, but when they've got cancer, then they can't pay their own way anymore, and they need help. So there are lots of mechanisms for the patient to be referred, but it's not a walk up, knock on the door, hello, WeCare, here I am. We need to be able to send them back to a doctor for their follow-up care. So we want to make that a loop. Start with your regular doctor, go to WeCare, come back to your regular doctor when you're done.
Excellent. Awesome. I think this would be a good segue. As you all can see, the website for WeCare is at the bottom. It's wecareofirc.org. And if it's okay, Dr. Saver, I'd like to show, you guys have done a fantastic job putting the website together. And I'd like to show just an example from one of the patients of how WeCare has tremendously changed her life.
Great.
Hang on one moment. Let's cue this up. Okay.
I would be probably in bed right now. I was having a lot of medical issues, and WeCare got me back on my feet again. I needed to get help before I could get a better job. I was over 200 pounds. I was so depressed. I was having a lot of problems with kidney stones, and I couldn't afford any of that stuff. Without organizations like this, people would have nowhere to go. I can't even fathom what would happen to me if I didn't have a program like this. There's a lot of people out there that need help.
I think that's awesome to see stuff like that, and everybody can go out there onto the website and be able to check it out. It's moving to me, and we've heard, I've been fortunate to see a lot of those opportunities to help folks in the county, and it doesn't get old to be able to see them being taken care of and getting the proper treatment that they deserve. So we thank you for that. Some phenomenal organization. I love it. So it's estimated that WeCare has provided more than $17 million worth of medical services in the past 30 years. And I know, to me, it's still amazing, but how does such a small nonprofit been able to make such a significant impact in Indian River County?
Well, it's because we have a lot of hands. A lot of people help. So we've got a lot of doctors who volunteer. The whenever someone needs surgery, the anesthesiologists are always right there to help. We have GI doctors who do upper and lower endoscopies for us for patients when they need them. We've had patients have open heart surgery through WeCare. So I'll tell you one of my favorite stories. We had a fellow referred to us who needed a hernia repaired, which is pretty common. Mm-hmm. And we sent him to a surgeon. The surgeon said, "Yeah, I'll help you. Where do you live?" And the guy said, "Well, I live in the woods." He said, "So you're homeless, right? Well, where are you going to recover after surgery?" "Well, in the woods." The surgeon said, "Not on my watch, you're not. I'm not going to have you get a wound infection in the woods, you know?" So our clinic staff just combed through every agency we could find in the county that helps people who are homeless, try and figure out, could we get this guy housing? Wow. And we failed. I mean, there was just nobody who was going to help this guy. So the WeCare Foundation took cash, and we got this guy a room for 30 days. And we said to the surgeon, "We have a safe recovery space for your patient. Will you operate on him now?" And he did. And he stayed there for 30 days, and he did fine, and he didn't get a wound infection. And he may be back in the woods right now, but he doesn't have a hernia anymore. And, we feel like, all in all, that's what we're here for.
That's awesome. What a great story. That's great. We do have a couple of questions. So Hala Shalub, asking, what about liability, and how are the volunteering doctors protected in the program?
We are really very fortunate because the state of Florida has legislation that says if you are a medical professional and you are volunteering, you're not being paid anything, and you're acting as an agent of the state of Florida, then you have what is called sovereign immunity, meaning that that any professional liability is the responsibility of the state of Florida. So and this is true whether you're a nurse or a physical therapist or a physician, or if you're a volunteer for WeCare and you're operating with a contract with the state saying, "Yes, I'm a volunteer," then you're covered whatever you do for that volunteer patient, wherever that is, whether it's office, hospital, emergency room, operating room, nursing home. You're really pretty much, we call it bulletproof, and that is really an incentive for some physicians, and it's a huge and a critical thing for when we have retired physicians who don't have insurance otherwise.
Good point.
They would not be able to volunteer if they didn't have that. So it's a great question, and luckily we happen to have a great answer.
And that's fantastic. Love to hear that retired physicians can continue with the program even after. So that's great. And Hala says, perfect. Thank you for the answer. So we talked about it a little bit, Dr. Saver, but how is WeCare funded, and how has the pandemic affected WeCare's ability to provide medical services?
Well, the actual dollars in WeCare are raised by the community. We do get a couple of grants. So we have a grant from the health district, as I mentioned, that pays the salary for our one physician. And we have a small grant from an organization called the Florida Association of Free and Charitable Clinics, which helps cover some of our overhead. Most of what we do, we have to, put our hand out. So all of you, our hand is out. There's a donate button on our website. We'd love you to push it and do something. So that's how most of our actual money comes from. The service we give is the volunteer service, so that's all by people saying, "Yes, I will do something gratis." And I'm sorry, I lost the second part of that question, Brian. Can you?
How has the pandemic affected WeCare's ability to provide medical services?
Well, it's limited us. All of us endured the same thing this spring when everything shut down and the streets were empty. So the WeCare clinic was actually, as a referral source, we were not an essential service. So the clinic closed for 2 months, which was a good thing because most of the doctors who we would refer to were not taking on new patients or doing anything that wasn't an emergency during those couple of months.
Right.
Since been able to reopen and pretty much get back to business as usual. Couple of hiccups here and there, which we're working through. So it did affect us this year. The one really serious thing, which we haven't quite figured out yet, is that we're not going to be able to have Brian be co-chair of Mardi Gras in February of 2021 because it's not.
Oh, no, don't say that.
Yeah, so Brian's going to have to be dancing with himself in the mirror this year. And since that has really kind of been our sole fundraiser, we're a little betwixt and between trying to figure out how we're going to keep our doors open and keep going in 2021. I think in 2022, we're going to be dancing again. We'll be back in business. And
no doubt.
So, but for a year, it's we're very concerned that it's going to be a little worse than lean.
Yeah, absolutely. Even more of a reason for folks to hopefully be willing to make some donations to the organization. I think we've been kind of tossing around the idea of maybe a golf tournament this year coming up in 21.
So we have to kind of, again, look first to the safety issue. We certainly don't want to ask anybody to put their own health at risk to help We Care. So we're hoping that in May or June, preferably May before it's so hot, that we may be able to put together a golf tournament or some other kind of an event. It won't be a Mardi Gras. We'll be able to do something safely. So that's in the hopper.
Yeah, and Mardi Gras is going to be missed because everybody looks forward to it at the end of February, just around Super Bowl time. That's when the big party comes. And yeah, it's going to be tough not doing it. But 2022, it'll be back, and
we'll be back.
And we'll be doing some other things throughout the year. I think one thing you alluded to without even realizing is we'll be probably doing some virtual, different types of events, I think, as well. So we're putting on our thinking caps to figure that one out. So
well, your thinking caps have always been brilliant, and so I'm expecting nothing less, Brian.
You're putting the pressure on now. I am. I knew it.
Absolutely.
So, what would you say are the major goals in the next few years of We Care, and what challenges does We Care face? Obviously, we just kind of mentioned one, but what are the goals and what are the challenges?
Well, what we really want to do is just be able to expand our service and take care of more people. So that means that, I guess one of the problems that we have to solve ourselves is that despite being here for 30 years, if you walk up to 10 people on the street in Vero Beach and say, do you know what We Care is? 9 out of 10 or 9.5 out of 10 say, huh? Who's We Care? So we have to try and really get the word out.
I think we honestly got that down to about 8 out of 10. It used to be.
Yeah, okay. But we want to get the word out there. So we have what we call a rack card, but it's a little sort of glossy thing that looks like a large bookmark. Back, and it's for the We Care, the possible We Care patient. So we put those out in places where people who might be our customers, so to speak, might be, just so that they know that they don't have to suffer in silence, that there is help available. We want to continue to encourage physicians to volunteer. And, we have some real heroes, and we have some people who do a little bit, and then we have some people who haven't yet done anything. So we keep encouraging them. For those of you who live here, go ask your doctor, hey, doc, do you volunteer for We Care too? Ask him.
Absolutely.
Give him a little pressure. And in order for us to grow, as you might guess, we got to enlarge our budget as well. So we're hoping to be able to do better fundraising than we have done in the past. I think we've done okay. But for example, the Volunteers in Medicine program, which is a very similar program to ours in Martin County, they raise 4 times as much money every year as we do.
Wow.
So So I think that we've got some stretch goals.
We've got some work to do.
We got some work to do. I think it's doable. We're looking for people to volunteer for us. We're actually in serious need of volunteer nurses right now. We've got a lot of doctors. We unfortunately don't have any volunteer nurses at the moment.
Wow.
So volunteer nurses can get the same sovereign immunity that physicians have if they're retired and want to help us for a few hours a month or a few hours a week or whatever. We're looking at a lot of growth things, but the be all end all is we're here for service.
Mm-hmm.
We know that there are a lot more people who unfortunately don't qualify for any kind of help. No Medicare, no Medicaid, no private insurance, and they don't have the cash for large, expensive medical things. They're our neighbors. We want to help them.
Absolutely. So Hala Shalhoub is asking if you can use a vascular surgeon. I think she might happen to know one.
Yes, we can. The only thing that limits us on surgery is that right now we do all of the surgery happens at Cleveland Clinic Indian River Hospital through their financial assistance program. And I'm actually neglectful for not mentioning that. If the hospital was not making available their physicians, their operating room, their inpatient rooms, laboratory studies, diagnostic x-ray studies, if they weren't doing that, we wouldn't be in business. So we have to rely on them for providing that kind of service to patient. Mm-hmm. We have not been successful to date with Sebastian River Hospital saying we'll do some for free too. If anyone knows how to convince them that that would be a good idea, wow, it would be terrific. And even if it's one patient a year, that's still one more person we can help. Yeah. So we are a local organization. So we are, this is our backyard, Indian River County. So we don't put our feet into other counties. So in St. Lucie County or in Brevard County or in Martin County, we don't take that on. And so those hospitals in those counties aren't part of our bailiwick, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. I see one other question. What hours are the volunteer physicians offering, and do they do evenings and weekends?
Well, it's variable. So what we do is try and keep our volunteer docs happy, because if they're happy volunteers, they'll come back and do it again. Mm-hmm. And if they become frustrated volunteers, then they say, I think I'm done with this. So we try and accommodate their wishes. We have a few doctors who actually now we have a clinic, come to the clinic and hold clinic there. Mm-hmm. So we have a dermatologist who comes quarterly on Saturday morning, and we have a neurologist who comes quarterly on Saturday morning. As I mentioned, I'm there on Wednesday mornings myself. Dr. Nancy Baker's there on Tuesday afternoons. Mm-hmm. Most physicians, most of our volunteers see the patient in their own office. And the reason is it's just more efficient.
Right.
So they're seeing maybe a couple patients a month, and for them to leave their office, drive over to WeCare office, drive back to their office, they're spending more time in the car than they are volunteering. Sure. Plus, if it's in their own office, then they've got their staff knows their habits. They know where their stuff is. They can get it right away. It's just way more efficient. So almost all of the volunteer service does not take place in our clinic. It takes place at all those 120 doctors' offices.
Gotcha.
And so they can choose to see those patients when they want. Most of them just kind of work them into the schedule here and there. So I think the vast majority are probably in the 8 to 5 zone. We do have one GI doctor who holds a clinic in his office once a month.
Okay.
For WeCare, which is extraordinary, Dr. Gittin. So as I said, whatever whatever the doctor is willing to do, we try to support that.
Awesome. And I'm going to make a shout out. I know that you mentioned we're always looking for additional volunteer physicians, but on the flip side of that, we're always looking for volunteers to help raise some funds for We Care. So anybody that is available out there that would like to help us put together some fundraising events in the coming year, or have ideas, even ideas, if you just want to reach out, I'm happy to talk to you. Dr. Saver, I'm sure, would be happy to speak with you. You could find my information at pharusglobal.com to be able to reach out to me. We're always looking for folks that can help with the fundraising activities and different things going on throughout the year. So always happy to speak with them. So Dr. Saver, I really appreciate you being here with us. Before we end the show, is there anything that we did not touch on that you would like to mention?
You've been very comprehensive. So I think that we've really covered what the program does, who we help, how to get into it, and why the community is an important partner for what we do. So that's really all the big stuff. Again, I am very grateful, Brian, for you making this opportunity available for me to put the word out there on the street. Who knows, after this, it might be 7.5, down to 7.5 out of 10 who don't know about We Care. We will have made more progress. I hope that you all have a marvelous holiday season and a safe one.
And before we go, if anybody would like to make a donation to We Care of Indian River County, you can see the website, www.wecareofirc.org. And there is a button on the right-hand side of the homepage, and it says, Give the Gift of Health, make a donation today. So certainly would appreciate that. Dr. Saver, thank you very much. I hope you have a very happy and healthy holiday season and New Year's. If I don't talk to you before, which I just might. And Hala Shalhoub says she's interested in speaking more, that they might be able to help We Care through their office as well.
Right.
And
that would be lovely.
And she's one less person we have to get out to, because she never heard of We Care before. So that's one more that we just
Hey.
How about that? So thank you very much again, Dr. Saver, and everybody, we appreciate you being with us. Everybody have a great night, and we'll see you next Tuesday for Live at 5. Thank you.
Good night.